The memes are already out there. I mean, Boba Fett being a guest star in his own episode. But episode 6, called From the Desert Comes a Stranger, a lot of things went down. So let's talk about it. The episode starts off with the Pikes loading spice onto a speeder. Cobb Vanth appears and tells them that he's the marshal around these parts, and they shouldn't be here. He takes out all but one, and tells the survivor that the Pikes aren't welcome in Mos Pelgo. Mando arrives at a forest planet and is greeted by R2-D2. R2 leads him to a clearing where droid spiders are building what looks like the beginnings of a temple. R2 shuts off as the droids build Mando a place to rest. Luke and Grogu are meditating, and Grogu is distracted by a frog. Grogu uses the Force to try and eat the frog, and Luke raises all the frogs out of the pond to show Grogu what is possible with the Force. Luke tells Grogu of Yoda, and he helps him remember his past. We see 3 Jedi protecting Grogu from the 501st. When he awakens, Luke promises to teach Grogu to protect himself. Mando awakens to find Ahsoka, where she says she's a friend of the family. She says that Grogu is to be the first student at Luke's temple. When Mando says he wants to see Grogu, she asks if that's for his sake or Grogu's. Ahsoka says that it would be hard for Grogu to see him again, so Mando departs, leaving his gift. Luke runs with Grogu on his back and trains him about balance. He starts to learn to use the Force with a training remote, jumping, invading, and finally taking it down. Ahsoka talks to Luke about the attachment between Grogu and Mando. Luke asks if he will see her again, and she simply responds, perhaps. Mando arrives at Boba's palace, and Fennec Shand is explaining the situation to the young gang, Boba, Mando, and Black Krrsantan. Mando suggests hiring foot soldiers and arrives at Mos Pelgo to see Cobb Vanth. Over a drink, they discuss the Pike Invasion and that they need to fight now, even if they're not an immediate threat. Vanth says that he will see what he can do, and a figure appears, walking towards the town. Cad Bane says that the Pikes will pay double what Fett is paying him to stay out of the fight. The deputy moves first, and Bane shoots Vanth and kills the deputy. Bane says that Tatooine belongs to the Syndicate and warns everyone to stay out of the fight. The Pikes go to Garsa Fwip's place and set off a bomb, presumably killing everyone inside. Back with Luke and Grogu, Luke gives him a choice. Take Yoda's old lightsaber or choose the armor that Mando left for him. Whatever choice he makes will determine his future. Dave Filoni directed this episode, and anytime Dave Filoni directs, apparently a character from the animated series makes their transition into live action. And we're no different here. In fact, he brings back a lot of some of his favorites. So Ahsoka, we've got a Clone Wars flashback. We've got Cad Bane. Cad Bane, of all characters, Cobb Vanth being back was really, really welcome. I mean, look, I think all the Western scenes, the scenes with Cobb Vanth, they were awesome. I really loved the tension in the face off between he and Cad Bane. I love the feel of this whole Western thing. I mean, he even uses words like, why don't you take them in for a spell? I mean, it's just, there's something really comforting about that. It's like, I don't know. It's really, really awesome. And Timothy Olyphant, man, we're lucky to have Timothy Olyphant in this series, for sure. And seeing R2 again, I mean, it was kind of like, I didn't know exactly what the plan was. I kind of thought that it was going to be a thing where maybe we would see Mando go visit Grogu and Luke, later, or something like he would just show up and he's like, oh yeah, I'm here now, or whatever, and we wouldn't actually see him meet with Luke and Grogu, but yeah. And then Ahsoka's there, and R2, and it's like, I actually half expected Ahsoka to call him R2-y at one point, and I was kind of hoping for it, even though I always hated that in the Clone Wars. I was kind of hoping for it. And with Ahsoka and Luke, I mean, we got a little bit of talk there. I really loved the conversation between the two. I just kind of wish it was a little. I kind of wished it was a little longer and a little deeper, I guess. The CG also was, it was pretty good, with Luke. It looked like Luke in a lot of cases. It was played by Graham Hamilton, and of course, I believe Mark Hamill did a lot of the voice work. But it seemed, it still seemed a little wooden, but a huge improvement from the finale of season 2 of Mandalorian. So, I mean, that's good news, right? And let's just talk about it. Holy crap, Cad Bane. Wow, it was really neat. It was really neat to see that. Again, people were talking about it, thinking, yeah, the Cad Bane's got to be in this, right? There was a I guess an unfinished episode where Cad Bane and Boba Fett face off. Um, and we never got to see it because the Clone Wars was canceled, right? When Disney took over, Lucasfilm kind of said, okay, we're stopping all production on stuff, and Disney's taking over, all that kind of stuff. We didn't get to see it. We saw an animatic of it way back when. So are we going to see that? Are we going to see this thing? It's looking like it, and I can't say I'm not excited. Now let's talk about a couple of things I didn't like about the episode. Look, Luke wasn't the only thing that was wooden in the performance, right? The whole thing kind of seemed a little wooden. In fact, if you look at the previous episode, directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, the pacing felt good, and it just moved along. And when there was a conversation being had, it felt natural. It felt like a natural thing taking place. Here, it really seems to be off, especially between Luke and Ahsoka. And maybe that's because of the digital stuff and all that, but it just doesn't feel natural. And it makes the whole thing just feel, I don't know, amateurish, I guess. Then we come to probably the biggest single problem I have with this episode and the last two, really. And to be honest, Boba Fett had a little over a minute of screen time. I think it was 1:08 is what I timed. Probably a little off, but still, that's not a whole lot in 2 episodes of your own show. Like I don't get it. I don't even understand this show really at all, because it just doesn't seem like there's any sort of focus, right? I mean, it's just constantly changing protagonists in a way. It should always be focused on Boba Fett, and then the thing should be happening around him. He should be taking part in the action, not just seeing it from the sidelines. There are some little cool elements, some cool details that help, sort of sell the world that being created here. Like Mando flying over the sandcrawler with the skull of the krayt dragon on. Krayt dragon, I don't know how you say it. But yeah, that's a cool little thing. It's a cool little thing, but I feel like in a lot of cases it felt like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni just dumped out their Darth Vader case full of action figures and was like, okay, this one, let's use this one. And it just feels weird. I feel like doing it that way could be really good, but so far it's been just kind of like, I mean, that's really cool, but why? This is the Book of Boba Fett. Why are we seeing Luke train Grogu? It just doesn't have anything to do with Boba Fett. In fact, a lot of that stuff had nothing to do with Mandalorian. So it's not even character building for this, really, a guest in the Book of Boba Fett. It's very, very strange. When trying to come up with stories and things, I have found that there's really 2 different things that kind of happen. You come up with a story, and you take elements and make them fit into this story to kind of flesh out the story. Or you say, okay, I want this to happen, I want this to happen, and I want this to happen. And then you try to build something around these elements that you really, really want. That's what this show feels like. It doesn't feel like a coherent story. It feels like a series of really cool things that people would like to see, but without any real gel to hold it together. It just seems strange to me. In fact, I don't even understand why it's called the Book of Boba Fett at this point. I mean, why not just call it Boba and Friends? So you tell me, what are you thinking about all this at this point? We have 1 episode left. 1 episode to finish off this somewhat of a story with Boba Fett and the Pikes, right? When it's really become something so much crazier than that, and with a lot of different, like, I don't know. I'm kind of curious what everybody else is thinking. And maybe I should just sit back and say, you know what, this is kind of fun, instead of looking for a coherent story. Anyway, what are you thinking? Let me know down below. We'll talk about it. It's good stuff. So thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next.